regarding tonight's hearing. At tonight's hearing, we'll cover each district separately. So the city engineer is going to put a map up just to show the district boundaries. If there are any additional questions by the commissioners before we start the public hearing, you certainly can ask those questions. Then we'd open the public hearing. If anybody wants to submit either written comments or verbal comments, or whatever else they want to submit during the hearing, that's perfectly acceptable. You would then close the public hearing. Because it is a public hearing, I would encourage that to keep it a fair and clean procedure, that that people should have all their comments during the public hearing portion and not add something after the public hearing is over. So we'll do a public hearing for each district. Once the public hearing's closed, then the Special Assessment Commission would discuss it. The Special Assessment Commission can approve the district as presented. It can modify it based upon comments, or it could table it with directions to the city engineer, myself, and staff to further research the issue. If you approve it tonight, it then goes to the city commission, and if somebody's still not happy with your decision, they can appeal it to the city commission. So tonight's not the final step in the process.
Okay. Again, good evening, everybody. If you have comments during the public portion, we'll ask you to come to the podium, and state your name. And part of that is I have really bad hearing, so I can't hear you very well. And second off, I believe this is being recorded, so we'd like to, have your name for the record. Okay, with that, then we'll start with the first, and we'll, if anybody needs an agenda, there's agenda on the outside when you came in on the chair. We'll go through the districts as they're listed on the agenda, so we'll just follow them right down in order. So the first district we have is District 1318, the Halverson Industrial Park, Second Edition. Dustin, you want to give us a quick overview on that?
Mr. Chair, I actually think it's 1314.
I'm sorry, 1314. I'm just
yep.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Assessment Commissioners. I'm going to bring up, like Mr. Shockley said, I'm going to pull up the boundary map. There is a lot of information on the website. All of the information that was reviewed during the Special Assessment Commission meetings back in June, all of that information is available on the website. And so for tonight's meeting, I'm going to pull up the boundary and go from there. And as you can see, you've got Cheyenne Street on the right side of the map, 32nd Avenue on the south side of the map. The boundary basically includes the lights at 32nd development, along with the new hockey facility. And there's another development to the north here, again on the northwest corner of the Cheyenne and 32nd Avenue intersection. So the intent is not to go through the same presentation that we went through back in June. Again, all of that information is on the website. People can look it up if they want more information. So we'll pull up the boundary map and turn it over to the commission.
And maybe just, this was developer driven.
We'll open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on District 1314?
Yeah, I'll speak about it. I guess this is, first of all, thank you. Steve Markwart, 725 15th Avenue East in West Fargo. I don't know if I've been to a special assessment meeting, but I've been to the city commission and voiced my opinion about the specials that are levied upon the city, so to speak. And of course, it always comes back to this thing that the developer requested it. Okay? Well, the developer is making a great deal of money, and it's going back onto the people that are there. And it continues to tax the heck out of people, and myself included, when I think some of those things should be, is it good for everybody, but who's benefiting? The lights project, in this situation, is going to be benefiting from this, correct? On 32nd Cheyenne?
Yep, everybody that's in this boundary.
In that area, okay. But once again, you're putting a burden on those people. And it's not just this, it's in general of all the things that are there. And I think in that situation, you have to look at is that, you know, you as elected officials, maybe not elected, however you got your job to be there, whatever the case may be, maybe somebody threw you out there and you had to go, but the people that are in that situation, there is a fiduciary responsibility to the people. That if we're going to approve these things, let's make sure that people can afford to pay for them. And it doesn't continue to escalate. Because it's a park, it's the water, it's a sewer, and eventually they throw it on the price of your lot. And I see that where people, they get a 2-year tax abatement, and in 2 years they can't afford to pay for what they have. Because the things are there. And I think that's something has to be done about it and look at it. And this didn't just happen today, or last week, or last month. This has been an ongoing process for years. Okay? And that's where those things come into play. And is there other things that the money could be used for rather than our special assessments continuing to go up and up and up? Because we're making projects that not benefiting everyone. And the developers are requesting them, and that's what I'm here for. Because as you go down there, there's a lot of developers are requesting them. Okay, maybe the developer has to pay a little more of it than turning it on to the city or the specials in that situation.
Mr. Burford, I guess, you know, good points, well taken. You know, unfortunately, this committee, you know, you're talking with the policy of special assessment. You know, that is a decision that is done by the city commission. You know, our job, of course, is that we are instructed to assess so many dollars against the district in a fair and equitable manner. I mean, so our decision whether or not to have specials or not to have specials isn't for this committee. We don't get to make that decision. That is up at the city commission level. So, you know, whether I agree or disagree, again, we can't change how that. And
I've been at that meeting, and they say you should go to the special assessment meeting because that's where the things are decided.
We decide.
So it's kind of like, here, let's just pass the buck to somebody else.
Right. I mean, we can't, like I said, you know, our job as assessment commission is to assess the dollar amount that the city commission gives us, to assess it over the area, that area, in a fair and equitable manner. That's our job. You know, we don't get to decide, well, we don't think assessments are correct, therefore we're not going to do that. We can't do that. That's not our job.
Well, I can tell you that the other part of that, I've been to the city commission meeting, and then they're saying, well, it was approved by the special assessment committee. And so you have to go to that special assessment committee, and that's why I'm here tonight. Probably it's almost like speaking on deaf ears. I'd probably just go there and beat my head against the wall about do the same thing that happened. Thank you.
You bet, Mr. Marco. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question, and that is, are we talking about any of these special assessments? Are we going in order of District 13, 14, or?
We're going in order, but I just want to use a general statement out there where the special assessments are getting to be more and more.
I understand completely. So I'm going to wait for our districts.
Okay.
Special assessment to say anything.
Okay.
Thank you. And do speak up, because I'm like you, I'm wearing hearing aids.
Yeah.
I'm not catching every word everyone's saying,
Yeah.
so please, microphone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else wish to speak on District 13, 14?
And Mr. Chair, we should make sure that people are identifying the property they own within the district.
Okay.
Because it's a special assessment proceeding, it's really important that we know whose property they're talking about, so that we can provide a record moving forward. And so, I want to make sure that we're checking that box, so to speak.
Okay. Sensing no one else wants to speak on it, we'll bring it back to the commission. Gentlemen, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, we will move on to District 1318, Halverson Industrial Park, Second Edition. Does anybody wish to speak on that district? One more time, does anyone wish to speak on that district? If not, we'll bring that one back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next district is, District 4064, Halverson Pond. Dustin, you got a map of that one?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to point out, I'm actually using the city's website too, just, again, just to put the plug in there that all of this information is available online. And here we are at this particular map. This is really small to see, so I'm actually going to click on it. Again, for those that can't quite see, we got Main Avenue is the main roadway towards the bottom of the map here. This is Main Avenue. And then we've got 12th Street Northwest here. So we've got Crary. There's a big business out in this district, just to kind of align everyone. The railroad tracks are up on the north side of the map.
Okay. If I remember right, this was a stormwater retention pond?
Yes.
Put in place, and these are the benefited properties.
Yep, this gray shaded area is representing the location of where that retention pond was put.
Okay. Thank you, Dustin. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on District 4064? Anybody wish to speak on 4064? Sensing none, we'll move it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. The next district is District 4065, Gateway West Storm Pond.
And again, Mr. Chair, I'm going to pull up the actual full-size map and just want to quickly identify that this area is where the new Hornbachers is located on the west side of Cheyenne Street. And the assessment district boundary is specifically for the new commercial properties within that new Hornbachers development area. There are no other properties in this district.
Okay. And this was a stormwater pumping station and dry retention pond?
That's correct.
That was put in. Is anyone here tonight wishes to speak to District 4065? One more time, does anybody wish to speak on District 4065? If not, we'll close public hearing and we'll bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I second for 4065.
Okay, moving second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on to the next district, which is 2240, 8th Avenue and 26th Street Northwest, paving project.
Okay, Commissioners, the 2240 Improvement District boundary, really the south side is Main Avenue again. Up on the north side, we have, the boundary extends all the way up to 12th Avenue. Kind of comes back down. The west boundary is the city limit boundary. We have the Sandhills and Meadowbrook Park platted area here. The east boundary is County Road 19 or 9th Street Northwest. This being a regional roadway, the idea here is that it's a much larger boundary benefiting that entire area. So it's not quite a half a mile or a mile each way like traditional arterial roadways, but it is encapsulating what properties we can. We're somewhat limited here with the extent of the city limits in relation to where, you know, Main Avenue is and the other arterial roadways. So it doesn't have that consistent square mile approach, but again, just want to point out that it is a regional roadway and hence a larger assessment district.
And maybe just one question that came up, maybe clarification. Special Assessment Commission, as you know, does not set the boundaries of the assessment district. That is set by the City Commission. The City Commission votes to go forward with the project, so it's sort of you guys don't get to decide if the project was good, bad, or indifferent, and you also don't get to set what the city contributes towards the project. You just have, as the chair said, you just have an amount that you need to assess out in conformance with the city's assessment policies and state law. So.
Okay, we'll open up the public hearing portion of it. Does anybody wish to speak on District 2240? Please come up to the podium.
Wonderful. By the way, I got one of the words you said. I just didn't hear you. Gotta talk into that mic, please. I apologize for two things. Number one, my attire, because I come directly from work, or I would have gone home and showered like you guys, and I'd look like you guys. Number two, my notes are all handwritten because I haven't had the time because of the amount of time we were given to prepare for this. So it's all handwritten. So bear with me while I read this, if you don't mind. I represent the Hazer two of the Hazer properties. Let's see, the first one is 2608 First Avenue Northwest in West Fargo, and the other one is Deb Hazer's property. I don't know Deb's address, right next door to Dwayne. She's on 26th. And she would be here, but she's working. This meeting is part of your taxpayer-funded job. There are people who would be here if they could be here. Debbie Hazer, Dwayne Hazer's sister-in-law, who lives in the house next to Dwayne's, is a nurse working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. today. Dwayne's brother cannot be here because he died of cancer a few years ago, and Debbie's income is the only one supporting that property. Some people who own properties that will be assessed this tax, and that's what it is, regardless of what it is called, do not own computers. Some people who own properties that will be assessed this tax cannot afford a subscription to the forum. Where a notice of this meeting was supposedly published in the legal section of the July 29th and August 5th editions of the Forum Fargo Moorhead, as stated in the notice, that is dated August the 6th, 2020, and was postmarked August 7th, 2020. I don't know if it was. I can't check. Those dates have passed. That was in the body of the letter. So there's no way to actually take a look at the legal notices that were required by statute to be published for the public. The owners of the residential properties are listed in this special. The owners of the properties who are listed in this special assessment being considered have not had enough time to try to go to the city website and discover exactly what their property's assessment would be. I was talking with somebody outside before this meeting started, and he didn't know what the tax would be. He couldn't tell me. He didn't have the time to go and check it out. I spent time. I even called the city returned a phone call to me and had to walk me through it so that once I actually got to the grid that talked about the specials that were already imposed, set up, and being paid currently, I could actually take a look at the proposed special assessment, divide that by 12, and figure out what the monthly payment would be for the one that is being proposed and one that is pending. I bet that maybe 2 or 3 people in here actually found that grid for their property and really understand it. I've got a hard science degree, a BS, and I had trouble understanding what it meant. Somebody needs to change the way that information is found by the people who pay the taxes and understood once they get to the page that actually supposedly has all the information. I shouldn't, with the kind of education I have, the intelligence I have, relatively average, I couldn't figure it out. It is not clear for the average person. All right. Let's see. They have not had enough time to find out beyond possibly the financial hardship it would impose, what the improvement might do for their property's value. The residential properties in the area of West Fargo impacted by this additional special assessment will have been taxed to the point of not being able to sell their properties for what those properties need to be sold for in order for them to move someplace else. Here's a copy Pardon me while I find it. I have a lot of papers here. I did a lot of reading and a lot of printing out. Here is, for all of you folks out there, this is Chapter 40-22.1, Special Assessments for Promotion of Business Activity. This is from the Century Code, North Dakota Century Code. And the one you want to read, pull up and read, and all of you folks might want to do the same, 40-22.1-03, Size and Form of Improvement District, Regulations Governing, says, the very last sentence of that paragraph says, any district created under this chapter shall include only property devoted in whole or in part to commercial or business use. Has anyone read this besides me? Have any of you read this besides? You have, thank you. Thank you. I would expect you to, because I imagine you're a paralegal or a legal or something like that. So you probably would have looked into this. Thank you very much. I'm glad to know that somebody in our city, by the way, I don't live in West Fargo. I told my realtor when I was looking for a house, whatever you do, don't bother showing me properties in West Fargo until this kind of thing gets straightened out. I know Fargo imposes specials too. She's putting his head in his hands. So what I've said, what I need to know, what I'd like to ask, and I want you to tell me what email, and for all these folks out here, what email, to whom we can address one, to find out exactly how to follow how specials are imposed in West Fargo, and what we can do about them to address them before we get to the point where you have a gentleman getting up here who obviously is very upset. I don't even own property in West Fargo. And I'm upset. So, somebody, maybe you, ma'am, can send to me, and I'll give you my email, a place where I can go to find out exactly how to handle this, from the start of the suggestion that a special be assessed to the end. Thank you. And I really don't have anything more to say, but I hope that me being up here, not being afraid to speak out and say everything that you guys are probably thinking, I hope you get up and say something. What a turnout we have. I didn't even get to talk to Dwayne's neighbors to try to get them to come, except for his sister. So hopefully you'll talk to your neighbors, you'll get them to do something. Let me ask you one last question. Is this it? Are you guys going to vote it's done, you have a special assessment, or it's not done, you don't have a special assessment tonight?
Well, no, there's, the assessments now will go to the city commission. And then the city commission will have a public hearing on the assessment districts again. The city commission has the final authority. We will, forward our recommendations to them with the dollar amounts per property that we recommend be assessed. The city commission has the authority to change that, and they have changed it in the past.
They have?
Yep, they have. So this is not the final say.
So there is some hope for us, little people. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Also, based on your question, on our website, we do have materials that talk you through how the process works and how we get to where we are. So if you want to give me your email address, I can send you the link so that you can get into that.
Great, because I spent quite a bit of time on the city website, and I had a heck of a time finding this stuff out. Did I get it to you? Thank you.
In the, kind of to answer the other general question, going to the city commission meetings is, they're the entity that creates assessment districts, so talk to your city commissioners, go to the city commission meeting, that's how that's where the districts get formed.
Yeah. Can I, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate to talk about the process, just a brief overview from beginning to end?
Sure.
You want me to pull up a PowerPoint from our website that we have there?
Sure, if you, I'm more than happy to go through just a brief overview of the process for special assessments. And first of all, the business improvement district, this is not a business improvement district. That's a very specific section of the code. This is the general section on special assessments. And so overall, briefly, the process is an improvement district is created by the city commission. So the city commission, with the guidance of the city engineer, upon petition or at the request of the city engineer, will create an improvement district. They set the improvement district boundaries based upon the policy of the city, and based upon what the petition, if it's a requested improvements, would look like. And so historically, the majority of improvements in the city of West Fargo have been requested by developers. So like a new development in Wilds, the developer comes forth with a petition. If it is water and sewer related, there is no, the city commission can create the district, and will direct the engineer to prepare a report, plans and specs, and bid it out. So all of these costs are publicly bid. All of that happens at the city commission. All of those motions are approved at a public meeting, and voted upon. The bids are opened at the public meeting, or not at the actual public meeting, but the bids are reviewed by the engineer, and then the lowest responsible bid is selected. Then construction proceeds. That's for water and sewer district. If it is a street district, we are required by law to hold a public hearing, at which time a public hearing regarding the creation of the street improvement district. The street improvement district can be protested out, which means that if there's protest for more than 50% of the property owners within the district, and it goes by property, not by owner. So I'll use an example. If you had 300 acres and 200 was owned by one person, and there was 3,000 people in the other 100 acres, even if you got all of the people that lived in the 100 acres, it's that one property owner can determine whether or not to move forward with that district. Sort of an absurd example, but it illustrates how property has more of a role in the protest than the number of people. Assuming there is no protest or inadequate protest, then the city commission moves forward with the street improvement district, orders plans and specs. The plans and specs are then bid out, and the city awards the construction contracts. Later on in the process, the city will finalize what the cost for each district looks like. The city has a policy of paying down certain costs through either sales tax dollars, water and sewer fees, to reduce the overall burden of special assessments. The city went through multiple forums to talk about that and gather input. The city engineer, as part of each creation in the improvement districts, has a tear sheet that just gives a rough overview of what the estimated costs for each district are from a very global standpoint, what the sales tax contribution would be, what the user rate contribution would be, and then the total amount of special assessments. That all occurs outside the purview of the Special Assessment Commission. You guys have no control over that. At some point, after all the costs are determined and how much is going to be specially assessed for each district, the City Commission directs the Special Assessment Commission to meet, gives you a number for each district, and tells you to levy out the special assessments. So you have your initial meetings where you work with the city engineer, you work with staff, and come up with some proposed special assessments. Those get published in the newspaper. We are also sending notice to property owners via letter and posting it on the website. And so we're trying to do as much notice as we possibly can. Within each district, we do have the affidavits of publication. So I can confirm for you, we have the affidavit of publication signed by the forum that the special assessment lists were published. A public hearing then occurs, that's the one tonight, occurs before the Special Assessment Commission hearing, where a property owner can come forward and say the assessment on my property shouldn't be levied for A, B, C. And then the Special Assessment Commission can make a decision whether to adjust that special assessment. Keep in mind, if you lower one person's special assessment, that could potentially raise other people's special assessments, because the Special Assessment Commission does not control the overall amount that's assessed. You have no control over that. Your job is you have a pie and you have to slice it up, and depending upon how much property you own, you might have a bigger slice. You don't control the size of the pie. If somebody's not satisfied with the decision of this board, then they can appeal that decision to the city commission, and the city commission then makes a determination on that appeal. If they're still not happy with the city commission's decision, they can appeal that to a district court, and then it goes before a judge, just like any other appeal. So that's just a brief overview. We put together several presentations on when we had our forums with the public, far more involved. They're available on the website. I have several links to them. If people are interested, I'm sure they can call staff and they'll get directed to a link. And just one clarification issue, the amount that's pending an assessment, that's a principal amount. That's not the amount that you divide up every month. So for example, if it was an assessment for $1,000, that's generally spread over 25 years. So dividing it by 12 would be incorrect. And staff can give you an estimate of what your special assessments would be, but that's a principal amount, that is not a yearly amount. So, and you do, as a property owner, have the ability to prepay that without interest. And then other important thing is, if you're buying property, you can negotiate with the seller to pay off all the special assessments. And it's something that they should be talking with their real estate agent about, negotiating with specials, because a lot of people will buy a lot, it has specials on it. That's a negotiation point. But once again, that's between buyer and seller.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Does that help answer your question, ma'am, about the process? Does that help answer your question, ma'am, about the process?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I do have a question, and I have my special assessment right here in my hand right now. And of course, I've got this pending special estimate on here. And it says, it's pending obviously, but you can pay it in full. So when do I know when that's actually going to come? So I could pay it full if I wanted to.
Well, great question. I don't know what district that's for, and I don't know how much it's for, but
725 15th Avenue East, and it's for $3,705.60.
Typically, you can prepay without interest before 10 days after the city commission approves it. Jim can talk to you about the specific prepayment, how you go about doing that. He's the city finance director.
I understand that. My question is, when it says pending right now, okay? So are they going to send me a letter that says you have these specials, so I can actually pay it?
What is the number of the project, sir? That would help.
02-2243 and 02-2244.
Those are the properties. There's a project number like 2250 or something like that.
Well, the project number says right here.
Yeah,
You can write off the sheet that I printed today.
those are districts that will be on the August 31st public hearing.
2243 and 2244. So that'll be on the 31st. We'll be sending those letters out, actually by the end of this week probably. And they will state the dates that they will be before this board. They also will state the date when they will come before the city commission. And then you have 10 days from that date to contact the finance office, Stan or myself, and you can make payments in full without interest.
Okay, so August 31st, that's going to be at the meeting on August 31st?
They'll be here, and then that one will go to the October 5th meeting, when it will be heard by the city commission. And then that's the date, from the 5th to the 15th is the period you have to pay interest free. And yes, we definitely want you to know that up front. And that is in the letters that you will be receiving.
Reason being, the pending special has been here for a year.
Yep.
So,
Which means you've had no interest to pay on it for over a year, which is good for you.
that's true, but obviously, I still want to know what it's going to be with the pending special. You take a year to take the pending, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You bet.
Does anybody else wish to speak on District 2240?
Thank you, Chairman and Commission. My name is Keith Weston. I am a board manager for Southeast Cass Water Resource District, located out here in West Fargo at 1201 Main Avenue West. I come before you on this particular improvement district. The Water Resource District has 3 parcels that are impacted by this, and please stop me if I'll say the whole parcel number, maybe there's a quicker, better way to abbreviate it, but it's 0265060010, and that, another parcel 0265060020. There's also a third one, 0265020080. And so, I guess initially, my first request of you as a commission and ultimately the city of West Fargo is, the water resource districts are a political subdivision of the state of North Dakota. And so it would be our request to make these parcels tax exempt because we are a unit of government. With that being said, if that is something that I need to go somewhere else to visit with the city commission or whatever, please advise me on how best to do that. We have received, those pending specials on the first two parcels that I mentioned, the number 10 and the number 20. The parcel 180, we were not able to pull that property site up on your website, on the West Fargo website. And so our question is that parcel going to be exempt, or have you considered to exempt that particular parcel since it was not shown? In the notice, it goes up to lot 12. That particular piece of property is lot 13, block 2, West Fargo, 3rd edition.
I apologize, I'm not sure if there was a question directed at me.
Yeah, we're wondering, well, first of all, the formal request here tonight to exempt all three of those parcels. If that's not an option, then parcel 0265020010 was not shown on the city's website. So our question is that are you giving us an exemption to that particular lot?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll maybe run through a quick reminder of what was discussed at the Special Assessment Commission review meeting, specifically regarding parcel that ends with 0265060010-000. This is, let's see, a 9.6 acre parcel. And if the commission remembers, during our review, the decision was made to only assess this for 2 acres. So there was a significant reduction in the amount of assessment, largely relating to the fact that the property is encumbered with the legal drain that comes through here. So the 2 acres was really representing the amount of land that this lift station here is on, with having driveway and access to this road. This is no different than the policy that the city would assess its own property for lift station land if it's within the district. Again, that particular property needs the roadways just like everybody else. So that has been the past policy, or the past precedent, if you will. The one thing I certainly wanted to point out is that we did not assess this as 9 acres. We reduced it down to a 2 acre assessment. As far as the other parcels, I'm not exactly familiar with which parcels you're referring to, but if you give me a number, I can type them in real quick, if that...
Okay, the other one is 0265000020, and then 3 more zeros. It's right adjacent to that particular parcel. It's up in the corner there, I believe.
I'm sorry, the keyboard's not typing as fast as I want it to.
I guess, on your first question about whether it can be tax exempt or not, I'll refer you to the city's legal question on where you would go to do that. We assess all units of government who have property in the district, so school districts, park districts, the city itself, they all get an assessment. They are not exempt from special assessments at all. So,
Okay, that's good to know. The reason I bring it forth as a member of the board is your counterpart to the east and to the south, the city of Fargo, does exempt our properties from taxation. And so that was the reason for the request.
okay, that would be,
Again, what was the last 5 digits?
5 digits, 00020.
Yeah, it's not coming up in this.
I believe, based on
Yeah.
what I was able to print off, or our staff was able to print off, it's in the very corner of 12th Avenue and County Road 19 or 9th Street. It's that parcel right there.
And while Dustin is looking that up, the statutory section that provides that property that's owned by political subdivisions is not exempt from special assessments is 40-2307. There's only federally owned property is exempt from special assessments, and cemeteries, the legislature exempted out cemeteries. So nonprofit owned cemeteries, not publicly owned cemeteries.
And I am aware of that. I was just asking for the exemption, or the consideration of the exemption. The comment and the answer on that prior one, I appreciate that answer.
Absolutely.
The other parcel is the 026502-00180. And that is where the actual West Fargo diversion ditch is. It's a larger tract of land, and that's the one that I wanted to bring to your attention. Yeah, that one there. We did not, or were not able to go to the website and print out a similar page showing the pending special assessments or the map. And so our question was perhaps was that one not going to have special assessments on it, if there was some reason. And that is correct?
Correct, yes, and, yes.
Okay.
And one thing to maybe also point out is that the project financing, as the road here is kind of bound between the diversion on the north side and then the properties to the south, the city, with its own funds, paid for a portion, I can't confirm for sure, I think it was roughly 50% of this project with city funds outside of the special assessments, because, you know, traditionally we would assess both sides of a street. In this case, we couldn't, so the city agreed way back when the discussion started back in 2014 or 15 regarding the paving of this road, to finance without special assessments at least 50% of the project, so that we weren't assessing, you know, A, the diversion channel, or B, the other properties having to take on that extra burden, so.
And that was consistent with the ponds are on the north side, and so most of the property was already city-owned, and so the view was that pursuant to the policy, you assess half of the road to the south part, and the other half, there wasn't any property to assess, so the city picked up that other half.
And Chairman, I don't come here in an adversarial or hostile manner in any way, shape, or form. Just want to express where we're at as the Southeast Cass Water Resource District. And the reason that we keep asking these questions is basically we don't generate revenue, so we are going to turn around and assess the landowners that are in the West Fargo diversion area, or later on when we talk about the Horace diversion. So in a sense, we're just going to pass those back on to the individual taxpayers. But I thank you for your time and explanations.
okay. Anybody else wish to speak on District 2240? more time. Anybody wish to speak on 2240? Sensing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve District 2240.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The next district on the list is District 3002, Pioneer Place Alley Improvements.
Working on it, Mr. Chairman. Here we go. Do you want to point out that this is in the downtown area, right behind the new Pioneer Place project, and very specifically, there's one thing I want to make clear of with this particular district. Residents were given the option to either utilize assessments to replace their sewer service line, or they could leave it in place as is. And so we had, I think there were 2 residents that opted in to have their sewer service replaced when we came through the alley with new sewer. And so the assessments are really limited to, again, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 properties, and specifically was for the sewer work. And their properties are not necessarily shown on this map, which is why I bring it up. Not all the parcels within this boundary were assessed. It's really just the 2 or 3 residents that opted into that particular assessment.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, we normally would not undertake an assessment like this, but because the alley was being paved or concreted over, it was felt that to put the underground utilities into the houses at the time was the best value for money for the residents, but we didn't want to force them into it, so it was all as requested. Okay. And we had them request the city to put the infrastructure in.
Okay. Anybody here wish to speak? We'll open the public hearing now. Does anybody wish to speak on District 3002? Anybody wish to speak on 3002? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The next 2 districts are both park districts. District 2017, Park District Improvement, the Wild South Park.
And Mr. Chair, just briefly for anybody here who is here for this, with Park District Improvements, your decision goes to the Park Board, not to the City Commission. So if somebody is objecting to their park assessments, it would then go to, they would need to show up at the Park District. There will be a notice in the newspaper and the time and place for the Park Board to meet regarding these assessments. And the first set of assessments for the Park District are for the Wilds South Park, which is south of 52nd as part of that new development. And then the other portion of the improvements are on park property. So just for public information.
Thank you.
I'll apologize. The link isn't working here for this one, so.
Okay.
And while Dustin is bringing that stuff up, the other unique part about Park District Improvements is the Park District is the one that creates all the improvement districts, awards the contracts, determines what type of playground equipment should be installed. Once again, the Special Assessment Commission doesn't get to decide how tall the slide is or how big the park is. So.
Yeah, if you can't find the map, we'll go by Jim's memory, which isn't very good. But this district was created on the new development south of 52nd, and basically they assessed all the properties within that district for a park that's going there. So everybody who lives down there who can use the park will have an assessment to help pay for the park. Even the undeveloped land, if I remember right, got an assessment, and then as that develops, that assessment on that large piece of property will be divided up to all the individual lots. That'll be in there in the future. So the assessment district was that whole area on 52nd Avenue South, there.
Yeah, the link wasn't working to the actual map. I'm sure I can find it embedded somewhere, but I figured I'd just get to this blue boundary here represents the assessment district, so.
So, we'll open up the public hearing now. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to the Park Improvement District?
Yes, Chairman. Again, for the record, my name is Keith Weston. I am a board manager for the Southeast Cass Water Resource District. I'm talking to you about parcel 02-3000-02000. It's right along the diversion. It's a small tract. This parcel, similar to my previous comments, we were not able to find that parcel and the actual special assessment or pending special assessment. So I guess my question is that particular parcel going to be non-taxed or exempt from?
I believe we didn't. Is that the actual drainage ditch itself, or the diversion ditch?
It's right adjacent. It's at the toe of the slope on the dry side, and it appears if that's...
Well, I don't know if I clicked on the right one.
I think the intent was, and we can verify, but since there's not going to be a house built there,
It's pretty much useless property other than to maybe put some sediment if we had to do some type of O&M on that area of the diversion. That'd be about it.
it would be unlikely.
That is the parcel.
This is the parcel. Okay, I'm just going to click on the specials page just to make sure.
We have nothing to complain about there, so thank you for verifying that. Appreciate it.
And just as a public information, the reason that we do that is there would be no benefit to a parcel for a park, because there's no house being built there. There's no, like even a school would have some benefit to a park, but here there's no possible development to the property. Southeast Cass, it doesn't have access, wouldn't be generating anybody that would use the park, so.
I'd also like to just throw out there that when we sent out the letters within these districts, some of these districts, even though they have a zero assessment, the parcels were included in a district. As such, they received a letter even though there was a zero balance. The software we use to kick these things out, we don't go through after the fact and pick out the ones that have a zero. We just let them go, and at least they still are aware that there's a process and their parcel is included, so.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on District 2017-2? Sensing none, we'll close that portion, bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve District 2017-2.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. And then the last district we're going to address tonight is District 2019-1, Park Improvement District, South Elmwood Service Club and Meadow Ridge Park Improvements.
And Mr. Chair, this is a district that it's actually just park property that's being assessed.
Yep.
And so the park district has the ability to create an improvement district and assess itself. So.
And I can't imagine there's anybody here from the Park District to speak to it because they asked for it. But anybody else from the public wish to speak to it? Sensing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. I believe that is all that we have on agenda. John, when is the next group of hearings? It's next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday at 5:30, same spot.
Okay, if no other
It's
business.
Monday, sorry.
Sorry, it's Monday.
Monday, sorry.
Next
Monday the 31st.
Monday the 31st. Okay.
Thank you.
And I do have the calendar up on the screen as well, just.
Okay. No other business before us? We'll adjourn the meeting. We're gonna call for a motion. We'll just adjourn. Okay.
Oh, Tina, I can't tell.